Africa Screams, a zany, hilarious romp. When bookseller Buzz cons Diana into thinking that his friend Stanley knows all there is to know about Africa, they are abducted and ordered to lead Diana and her henchmen to an African tribe in search of a fortune in jewels. Welcome to Sasquatch Cinema, the podcast where we talk about movies starring all kinds of ape men. And today we're actually going to be talking about an Abbott and Costello picture, Africa Screams. We thought it was 1948. Apparently it's 1949. And but before that, I'm Steven.
And I'm Isaac.
And this is Sasquatch Cinema. How's your week going, Isaac?
That's pretty uneventful for the most part, which has its pluses and minuses, I suppose.
Yeah, pretty much the same for me. Also, it should be noted that we are recording on my back porch, so you might get some noises of nature, which I mean, there's a positive and negative to that too.
Yeah. There's a cricket in the corner, and he's making a bunch of noise. And I don't know if I doubt you can hear him, but
you're just gonna have to deal with the fact that there's ambiance in this one.
Yeah, you might hear some wind gusts and whatnot. We do have wind blockers on the microphones, so maybe that will help. But so if you hear wind, though, that we're just outside. So
yeah, and if I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there is a crow who's being very very vocal as well.
Yeah.
We might ask him for his opinions, but only if he's got good ones. And we haven't really decided whether that's the case or not.
Yeah.
But okay, as it is, we're going to be talking about 1949's Africa Screams starring Abbott and Costello. A little bit of history on this one. It is directed by Charles Barton, who is one of the great Abbott and Costello directors. In addition to this, he directed Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein the year before this, 1948. And another of their sort of all-time classics is Buck Privates Come Home. A lot of people tend to think of that one as being sort of one of the better of their pictures as well. In terms of writing, we've got Earl Baldwin, who is, let's see, he's known for a movie called Dr. X, which
Dr.
is that's a Lionel Atwill movie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty good. And on here we've also got something called Wild Boys on the Road, or Of the Road. Wild Boys of the Road. Yeah, no idea about that one. Here Comes the Navy, Wonder Bar, Blondie Johnson. I don't know. I don't really know much about this guy. We tend to think that he did a pretty good job on this one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like he hasn't written a lot of comedies, but granted, he had two comedy legends probably helping him out, like write out the comedy and their style, and a director who was familiar with working with them already, so he probably had some help.
For sure. I mean, a lot of Abbott and Costello's material ends up coming from vaudeville stuff, which is kind of like the way that people did vaudeville jokes was that they were sort of pre-existing jokes that had been being told for like decades, and bits that had been done, sketches that had been done for decades, and then you would sort of do your own original interpretation of those. Obviously the famous one for Bud Abbott and Lou Costello, more than anything, is probably their Who's on First bit.
Oh yeah.
Which would come up later in their television show. We're going to be talking a little bit about that later because we've got some principal cast members that were also on that show. But yeah, so as far as writing, I think probably a lot of the jokes really come from that vaudeville circuit.
Yeah.
But regarding cast, obviously we've got Bud and Lou. We haven't talked about them yet, really, on this. There's not a lot of stuff they did that featured gorillas. I think we mentioned a couple that had like some gorilla suit actors before. But
well, speaking of gorilla suit actors, might as well shout. We have a returning gorilla suit actor in this one.
Yeah, this is Charles Gamora, and he was the gorilla suit actor in Murders in the Rue Morgue, so good pedigree. He's often considered to be one of the two or three greatest gorilla suit actors of all time. He designed his own suit, basically did his gorilla acting based on his experience with great apes. So he definitely had a lot of experience there. Brings that to the performance, I think. We also have Clyde Beatty, who was sort of a very popular figure at the time. He was a lion tamer. I believe that he starred in a few things sort of as himself. There's a serial that he starred in around this time as well. So he's definitely a well known character, very talented as well. Um, Also, we think he's a hunter, guy named Frank Buck.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really know too much about him. I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and it all seems to be like jungle adventure stuff.
Yeah. If anyone knows who Frank Buck is, if he was like some famous game hunter or some whatnot. I mean, in this movie, he was kind of hunting after a cryptid in a way.
Yeah, he was.
Um, so
We
which is our tie to the with Bigfoot, which we'll get into in a moment. But he's a cryptid hunter.
Yeah, he's definitely a cryptid hunter, an adventurer, a Bigfootologist.
Bigfoot.
um, we've also got Hillary Brooke, who was in the Abbott and Costello TV show. Worked a lot with them. She's also in the great movie The Philadelphia Story, which is
Oh yeah.
very good pedigree. I think she's also in one or two of the Bob Hope, Bing Crosby road comedies. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so that's good. She's definitely got that comedy experience.
Yeah.
She's good here as sort of like a straight woman kind of character. Uh, but the two that I'm most excited about, and I think Isaac could probably tell through our viewing of it that I was pretty excited about it, is we have two, count them, two Three Stooges actors,
Mm-hmm.
both of which played the third Stooge after Curly left. So we have Shemp Howard, who is Curly and Moe's brother. I think, at the same time that he was filming for this, was also already one of the Stooges. He was also the original third Stooge before Curly joined the group. He was the original third funny guy. And he's in a lot of stuff. He ends up popping up in a lot of stuff that you don't really expect. He's in The Bank Dick with W.C. Fields. He's in The Invisible Woman. He's in Hold That Ghost with Abbott and Costello. He's actually in a lot of Abbott and Costello stuff. And he just sort of pops up in mostly Universal pictures in the 40s. He's just sort of a well worn character actor who's always good, and he's really funny in this.
Well, it kind of sounds like he may have been just a Universal actor as well, and maybe he could have been friends with at least one of the Abbott and Costello. Like at least he knew them if he was in a lot of their movies.
For sure.
That's very possible. So
Yeah.
you and that in those days, even today, you cast people you like working with and you're friends with, because if you know you got chemistry, then yeah, you continue doing that.
Yeah, of course. And then we also have another third stooge, Joe Besser. Joe Besser's often sort of looked down upon as one of the worst of the stooges. I've never really understood that. I realized that his shorts with the Three Stooges, not not the best. But this was when the Stooges were aging. They were kind of redoing a lot of their old gags from the past. There are several shorts that are basically remakes, but instead of Curly, it's Joe. He's also known for being one of the principal cast members of the Abbott and Costello show, the TV show. He played Stinky, who is several people, I think, list him as like one of the most disturbing characters because he's a grown man who plays like a 4-year-old child.
Oh,
Yeah. But Joe Besser was what was known back then as Nance actor. Nance being Nance, sort of like Nancy. And the reason that they called them that is basically they were playing sort of effeminate or gay roles.
Stereotypical gay roles.
Yeah, and so he's got a little bit of that like flightiness to him and stuff.
Yeah.
Not a gay guy in real life, but was in several movies doing stuff like that. He was in let's see here. I think he's in like some Jerry Lewis comedies.
Hmm.
He's in Abbott and Costello Meet the Keystone Cops. But mostly a lot of people are going to know him from being the third Stooge in mostly the 50s, and he's also from the Abbott and Costello show.
Gotcha.
But a very talented actor, does really good stuff in here. He might actually be the funniest thing about the movie, at
And one
least
of the
one of them.
funniest, yeah. There's
Uh,
multiple funny things about the movie.
yeah, the movie is this is a like we're gonna spoil it up front. We like this.
Yeah,
Like,
this is a good one. Yeah.
and after a dry run of two that have been just not particularly good, it's really refreshing.
Yeah, like coming off of a bad vaudeville comedy, The Gorilla,
Yeah,
and a horror comedy, well, horror in quotation marks,
comedy in quotation marks as
as
well.
well. Yeah, off of that and then coming into a comedy was very refreshing, and also just competently well made too. Like the director knew what he was doing. There was great camera movement at times. Some of the shots are good. I mean, they're all for visual gags, but you gotta know your camera work to do good visual gags.
Yeah, for sure.
So like there was that, and the set design was also really good because most of it takes place in an African jungle, African jungle in quotation marks, because it was obviously all set.
Oh, clearly, yeah,
Because it would be kind of dangerous to go out into a real jungle.
yeah,
Unless you're John Hudson, who is just like, yeah, we're just going to Africa for African Queen. So
yeah. John Huston was, but he was a madman. So
yeah, before plot synopsis, as always, if you would like to see this movie, please watch it. Because of spoilers ahead, as well as slight trigger warning for those of you who are sensitive to this, who are listening. This movie is from the 40s. It is a bit dated in some of its depictions of African tribes and cannibals and things like that. And I think that's about it. Also, the poster on Letterboxd is very outdated.
yeah,
But we look back on this film and not take those as negatives because it was just a product of its time.
this should be very easy to access. It is public domain. You can find it on Tubi. You can find it on Amazon Prime, I believe. You can find it on YouTube. The best way to view it, and this is unfortunate because it's an expensive DVD, but if you can get the DVD from Classic Flicks, it's restored by the 3D Film Archive. They've done a whole lot to clean it up. Most sources that you're going to find of it are not going to be in particularly good condition. So warning for that ahead, but please do watch it. It is a good movie, and if you can find that Classic Flicks DVD, which occasionally they still print them up, and Classic Flicks does still occasionally have good sales, I would recommend it.
I've seen it at half price books, like the whole set of like a bunch of their movies.
Yeah,
These for really inexpensive, including the Marx Brothers as well. Like really inexpensive at half price books, like $20 for a whole set, which is really good.
yeah, that's
So-
definitely a good price.
So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. But with that, let's get into the plot synopsis.
So we start out with Lou Costello seemingly in a jungle trying to tame a lion, and the lion is not a lion; it is instead a kitten. And the kitten hisses back at him while he's trying to sort of do the whole lion tamer shtick. And at one hiss, he's like, "Okay, I'm running away." So he runs away, causes chaos, of course, as Lou Costello does. Throws down a bunch of books and stuff like that. And Bud comes in and is trying to sort of like placate him and be like, "Come on, it's just a kitten." But that sort of establishes that major theme of the movie, which is that Lou is really afraid of animals.
So Stanley, as he's called in the movie,
Mhm.
meets these two very tall men who offer him they're asking for the Dark Safari by I can't remember whose the author is. I don't even know if that's a real book or not, but they offer him trying to buy that book from this little bookshop they have in like a department store that where he runs with Buzz, the character name. What's not Lou? It was the
So Buzz is Bud Abbott's character.
Bud Abbott's character.
Yeah, and it's hard.
Yeah,
It's hard to keep that straight
yeah.
because Buzz, Bud, you know,
I'm just gonna call him Buzz and Stanley for the sake of the movie.
works for me.
He owns a little, like, just a simple little bookshop, and he says he's read the book and he can draw a map of the jungle. So they offer him $1,000 in the alleyway if he can come and draw the map. Well, on the other side of the bookshop, Buzz is talking to a lady, and she would pay 2,500 for someone who had the map. So he grabs Stanley, and Stanley and he brags up Stanley that he can draw the map for 2,500. Well, it turns out the lady and the two men then are working together. The two men
Mhm.
work for the main lady, that she's their boss, and they find out that Buzz and Stanley or double crossing them, or seemingly double crossing them with the money. So they decide that they're going to invite the lady invites Stanley and Buzz over to her house, and some shenanigans ensue. Like Stanley gets his hand stuck in a water spigot.
Yeah, very funny joke about Stanley's finger caught in the water spigot. So they go to the front door and they're greeted by um, Harry, who's played by Joe Besser, and Joe Besser lets them in. He takes their hats, and as he's taking their hats, he takes both hats off of his hands, and it's revealed that the water spigot is now on his finger.
Yeah.
At which point, at which point Stanley comes over and is trying to assist. At one point, turning the knob on the on the water spigot, and water comes out of it.
Yeah.
And
Stanley's even stunned by this.
we are all we everyone is perplexed, but everyone is also laughing, at
Yes.
least outside of the movie. So after this little bit of shenanigans, we get into um, sort of the meeting to plan this safari, where Diana, the main boss lady, is meeting with Clyde Beatty as himself, sort of to lead the safari and to, I guess, help bag, well, supposedly help bag this giant orangutan
Yes.
gigantus, or something like that.
Yeah. Let's just say a little bit about that real quick. So that is a mythic creature that was believed to maybe have exist in Africa. It's basically a giant orangutan. It's a cryptid of some sort.
Yeah, 20
Because
feet tall.
20 feet tall, and it's massive, and it. I haven't looked this up, but I'm pretty sure it probably didn't actually exist. It's just a theory of maybe it did exist, but it's our cryptid and our tied to Bigfoot because it's a cryptid monkey specifically, and all cryptid monkeys are just Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, it's all the same.
It's
It's
all the
all the
same.
same. All kinds of ape men on this show, right?
Yeah. So I guess that's our African Bigfoot, right? The Gantian orangutan Ganctus.
Yeah, orangutan gigantus. Yeah.
Yeah, that's our African Bigfoot. So, anyways, that's what she tells Clyde Beatty that she's after and wanting to hunt. Then Clyde meets Stanley, and Stanley, not knowing who Clyde is, starts bragging that he's better than Clyde Beatty and has bested him in hunting as many lions, and 64 lions. Not. Then he discovers that Clyde is Clyde, and is quite embarrassed and flabbergasted about it. Um, but then they can continue on with the meeting, and we meet our other Stooges actor playing a character called Gunner,
Mm-hmm.
who is basically the best way to describe him is a Mr. Magoo style comedy. He's blind. He's a blind rifleman.
Yes, yes, and exactly what you would imagine to happen happens with him.
Yes.
You know, throughout the movie, pretty good shenanigans about trying to fire a rifle in the right direction, holding guns on people and animals and stuff. And
Yes.
and it not really working out because he's blind.
Yeah. And then through some talking by Buzz, Stanley and Buzz join Diana's safari hunt, and now they're in Africa. And in Africa, Buzz overhears Diana talking to her two goons about they're not here for the actual the big monkey. Basically, they're here for diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And so he comes up with a plan with Stanley to get more money and get the diamonds.
Yeah, exactly. And so they are sort of continuing on trying to, uh, uh, well, we find out, frankly, that Stanley has no idea where he's going. He lied, not really knowing it, about the map that he was supposed to draw
Yes.
to get them through this place and where they need to go to find the diamonds. Turns out that, well, frankly, it's just a map that he drew himself to figure out how to go to the corner store. So that doesn't end up really working out for him,
Yeah.
but they're kind of trying to keep that close to the vest. Lou, of course, well, Stanley, sorry, is still sort of acting the Great White Hunter and is kind of continuing on through the forest trying to show them, quote unquote, show them where to go, where really he's just leading them into nowhere. Um, we get several good gags about following down the river, and there's crocodiles. Stanley drives a boat with an egg beater, which is fantastic.
Yes. A couple of jokes about lions as well. Right after they've found a place to camp for the night, Stanley and Buzz get whisked off by being chased by lions
Mm-hmm.
deeper into the jungle, and Stanley he finds a trap and thinks that Buzz has fallen into the trap. So he throws a rope down to pull him up, and we finally see our man in gorilla outfit costume,
Yeah,
and it looks great.
it's such a good costume. Charles Gamora is, I mean, this is just a slightly friendlier version of Eric the Ape, you know.
Well,
Uh,
I wouldn't say that, but
yeah,
this is a very friendly ape. He
yeah.
has no aggression or ill aggression towards our main characters or main cast really at all.
Yeah. He's only trying to do the good
Mhm.
thing. He's
Yeah,
actually trying to help them find diamonds. He doesn't care.
yeah.
But of course everybody's afraid of him because he's a big ape.
Yeah. I think is it alluded that he's just a smaller baby version of
Orangutan gigantus.
Gigantus? Yeah,
Yes,
I think that's what
exactly.
it alludes to
That is
later in the movie.
that is exactly what
Mhm.
he is later in the movie. Because, well, I mean, we will get into it a little later, but we do eventually see the orangutan gigantus,
Yes.
and it's just a big version of Charlie Gamora's ape suit. So
Yes. Again, the ape doesn't have a name, sadly. I don't know why the ape would need a name in this context, but it just doesn't have a name this time around.
yeah,
But after meeting that, speaking of the orangutan gigantes, we meet a hunter, Frank Buck, who is looking for that. He meets Buzz, and he's setting up traps, and Stanley falls into one of the traps. Oops.
and they think it is a baby orangutan
Yes.
gigantus.
Which foreshadowing.
Yeah,
Foreshadowing, yeah.
definite
Yeah,
foreshadowing.
foreshadowing there, yeah. Which is like again, this movie's a lot of fun and knows what it's doing. So
Well, this movie's just constant shenanigans.
yeah.
We're moving further into things, and eventually, uh, Bud Abbott starts to find. Well, sorry, Buzz. Eventually, Buzz finds diamonds on the ground
Yes.
and starts following the trail of diamonds. Well, the diamonds are planted by cannibals
Yes.
in order to lure in unwary travelers,
Hmm.
and so they get captured by the cannibals. Cannibals tie them up, and who comes to their rescue but Charlie Gamora's ape man?
Yeah.
So we're very excited about that.
Yes.
For some reason, he seems to exclusively prefer Lou, though, because he is untying Lou's hands, and Lou eventually unties Bud's hands.
Well, oh, I know why. That the movie does kind of like it's a subtle thing, but it's not because Stanley or Lou save him from the hole. Like, he pulls him
Oh
out of the
yeah,
hole.
shoot, that's
Yeah, he
true.
pulls him out of the hole, and that's why he's affectionate towards him. He's like, "Oh, you saved me, therefore I will help you," kind
Yeah,
of thing. That's sort of like that kind of idea, right? So that's
that.
why he's affectionate towards him, and
Oh
only
man, that
him,
makes
really.
so much sense. How did I not realize that?
I think that's what the movie implies. They never directly say it, but it's implied.
Oh, it's
Again,
definitely implied.
showing, not telling. I think this movie does very well.
So they escape the cannibals. They run back to camp, and turns out that Diana has been making plans with the cannibal chief to get Lou back because
Yeah,
the cannibal has a sweet tooth for the little fat man.
yeah, a real, very real line in this movie.
Yes, that is not me interpreting it. That is just right from the movie.
That's straight from the movie. So then, very Scooby Doo esque chase sequence begins.
Mm-hmm.
And we say Scooby Doo esque because that's a lot what it's like, but comedies from this area inspired Scooby Doo chase that we all know and love. It's just what's more recognizable in the modern era.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And at this juncture, we get a whole lot of gags. The main thoroughfare of the plot is that Stanley is being held at gunpoint by, well, our Three Stooges actors. And it is so great to see them working together. They never worked together on the Stooges, so I mean it's fun to see them. For a Stooges nerd, like that's pretty fun. And so obviously Lou gets away because Lou, despite being an idiot, is smarter than these two idiots.
Yes.
There's a gag with Gunner where Gunner's holding a gun on Lou's character, and, well, it basically ends up holding it on a tree.
Yeah, a
and
tree, then a stick.
a tree, and then a stick, and then on a chimpanzee, a baby chimpanzee.
And that's not the first that is the first chimpanzee we see, but not the last, as we start seeing multiple chimpanzees. And by the orders of the ape man, they cause hijinks and chaos and defeat a few the two goons, Diana's goons, by forcing them to fight each other and then knocking them out with coconuts.
Mm-hmm. And at the same point, Diana is sort of unwittingly captured in one of the orangutan gigantus traps by Frank Buck, and Frank Buck sort of keeps her for her own protection.
Yeah, and then she just disappears from the movie.
Yeah,
Like,
pretty much.
well, once she joins Frank Buck, she's gone. She's with Frank Buck now.
Yeah.
So,
and really, there's not a whole lot more left to say except that
we do see a orangutan gigantus.
Yep, we do
and
see that.
when actually Lou initially goes through his legs, the cannibals see this giant monkey, though, or giant ape, I should say, and freak out and run away from him. And there's some weird light.
Yeah, for some reason it makes their faces glow.
Yeah,
I
don't know
think
about that one.
I think the implication is like probably they worship this thing or something like that. That's what I think. But I mean, that's just mostly going from like jungle adventure novels and stuff, like all that different kind of genre stuff. Which, I mean, that's definitely what this is sort of parodying anyway.
Yeah.
So at this point, Lou walks between the thing's legs, and the tribesmen run away, and then he realizes that this gigantic ape is above him, and he runs away.
Yeah.
Into the loving arms of the other gorilla,
who gives him the diamonds that Buzz had found, and Buzz calls Stanley a jinx and rafts away out, leaving Stanley with the diamonds.
Yeah, it's also important to mention that at this point, Buzz has become obsessed with the diamonds.
Yes.
He's diamond crazy. Like I feel like this is a trope in like cartoons and old comedies and stuff. Like person that gets like obsessed with money. Like Daffy Duck in
Yeah.
those cartoons where he's like woohoo woohoo.
Yeah.
All the stuff. Sort of Scrooge McDucky too.
Yeah.
So anyway, Stanley ends up with the diamonds, and we sort of fade to black with him alone in the jungle,
Hmm.
and then we fade in.
Fade into to what looks like, I think, New York
Hmm.
to me, and we find out that Stanley, whose last name was Livingston, uh, has now owns a massive building with his name on it, and he is now a very rich man because of the diamonds. And Buzz has become his bellboy for his private elevator and whatnot. And then we go up to the top of the elevator, and at his office, this Stanley mentions he has a partner, and who is his partner happen to be? The orangutan guy, Jankus Ape Man. Mhm.
Yep.
And out of blocks, he forms the end, which is a nice little beautiful thing. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it is quite nice. Um, so I guess just overall critical opinions. We've talked about it a little bit throughout this synopsis, but this is really just a funny movie. It's really, really well made and well written. The performances are all really well done. Like it's kind of hard to find negatives about this other than the sort of like racial stereotyping.
Yeah, racial stereotyping, and I think this is me more of a personal thing for me, is that I get so tired of some gags sometimes being like stuff like they do the gag of especially with Stanley. Stanley doesn't notice said thing and keeps talking a lot longer before he finally notices exactly what thing and whatnot. They do that gag like 5 times. Things like when he works, for example, when he runs into a room for cannibals and he's trying to tell Diana about the cannibals and how he saved himself from them, and when why that stuff is funny. If you've seen the same gag 5 times, it kind of gets like, oh, okay, this gag again, and that sort of wore me down a little bit for me. That's more of a personal preference. That's not
Hmm.
a slight against the movie. It's more of a personal
Yeah,
preference.
I will say it does have a fair amount of sort of repetitiveness.
Yeah,
That's a problem, frankly, with Abbott and Costello movies in general, and that's one thing that keeps most Abbott and Costello movies really from being like sort of 5-star bangers.
yeah.
But there are exceptions. I mean, like we mentioned, like just the year before they did Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, and that sort of is maybe a perfect movie, as close to a movie can be perfect. It's pretty close. And Hold That Ghost as well. Most of their sort of horror comedy stuff is in a pretty good vein. But in terms of this one, yeah, I mean, just well constructed gags, a little bit of repetitiveness, unfortunately, but and as we mentioned, the racial stereotypes, but in terms of filmmaking, like this is pretty spotless.
Yeah.
The cinematography is fine. I mean, you don't have to have amazing cinematography for a classic comedy. Um, you know,
Well, you can. I think there are classic comedies that do have really good cinematography.
well, yeah,
And
that's true, but it's not a necessity. It
that's
sort of
fair.
became maybe this is a film nerd kind of thing, but like it sort of became a necessity after like the Cohen brothers came out because they had that like crazy uh, uh, camera style that they threw into like Raising Arizona, and you could say the same thing really about Sam Raimi in some of his sort of like horror comedy
Yeah.
stuff. But like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying like there weren't good elements of cinematography in movies before then, because there were. I mean, we've got like some of the greatest directors of all time doing great comedies with great cinematography, but it's just not 100% a necessity. And this sort of is just right down the middle. Good um, set design, like we mentioned before, is really good because obviously it's just you really do feel like you're in a jungle after a while.
Yeah,
I mean, you obviously there are fake animals, but one sort of talking point that I think we do need to go into is the use of live animals, real animals.
yeah,
I've always been a fan of that. And, I know why we don't do it anymore. I know that there was animal cruelty involved. Yeah, I don't know anything about the production history of this one regarding how they treated animals or anything like that. But when it comes to the live animal performance, I mean, they're just very well trained. And
yeah,
there's really nothing more impressive than like lion taming, dealing with live animals in that way. I mean, it's scary and it's impressive and it's kind of almost even hard to criticize when it comes
yeah.
to just the talent that goes into that.
There's a scene where Clyde Beatty is literally inches away from getting his leg bitten off by one of the lions, and I'm not joking. Like, there is a shot where you can see he gets very close to one of the lions on the ground with the lion's mouth open. If it wasn't for his whip and chair, his leg would have gotten bit off
Yeah,
by that lion for sure.
yeah, just a very talented, very impressive guy, and we haven't talked a whole lot about him uh, as of yet, but clearly a talent, and clearly
Yeah.
somebody that contributed a lot to the success of this. Because I mean, one thing that sort of keeps it going is the sort of African adventure aspect of it, outside of just the comedy.
Yeah. I mean, he he doesn't add a whole lot to the plot itself, I would say.
Yeah.
He's mostly there to be sort of like the celebrity, right? He's the celebrity within the celebrity cameo, if you will.
Hmm.
Just like with Frank Buck of the movie, which I think works fine. Like, comedies can have celebrity cameos of popular celebrity being themselves, doing their stick. Like, and with Clyde Beatty, I'm gonna say Warren. I want to keep saying Warren Beatty, which is a different person
Yes.
entirely. Their last name is spelled the exact same way, I believe.
100%.
But different. Be interesting if they were related, but I doubt it.
Yeah, me too.
So, anyways, so Clyde, he is definitely a lion tamer in real life, and I suppose he went on like real African safaris and
Yeah.
hunted lions and stuff back when that stuff was still like legal. Now that is highly illegal. A
Hmm.
lot of the stuff that they do in Africa is like highly illegal now, due to a lot of African countries just being better with laws and all kinds of stuff. And also, this is a fictional movie, and it's not really supposed to reflect the real world in a
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, this is
So
this isn't entirely sort of romanticism and then the sort of critique on romanticism sort of being the ridiculous aspects of it.
yeah,
And this movie does that pretty well by itself. I mean, like I think it's hard to not see Stanley's like ridiculous myth making of himself and not apply that to, well, exactly guys like Clyde Beatty
yeah,
and guys that would have done those big African safaris and hunted wild game and stuff like that. Which, you know, when that is appropriate, that is a very positive thing. It's um, good for tribal communities a lot of the time when it is properly regulated. The unfortunate thing is that it wasn't for a while,
oh
and
yeah,
as Isaac mentioned, it is now, and that's a much more positive thing. But I mean, even like there is like a little subtlety to it because I mean Stanley is named after David Livingstone, who
yeah,
was the great African missionary, and there is a lot of sort of myth making in regard to his actual personal history. Um,
as well, yeah,
yeah, so I mean, there's like slight critiques and also slight celebrations of it, and I think that's just what the movie's supposed to do. When it's a comedy like this, when it's sort of satirical, but mostly just trying to be a good time, I think that's kind of what the service of the movie is.
This movie's main goal is to make you laugh. It isn't to like deconstruct the genre of like jungle safari and jungle adventures or anything like that. It's not designed to do that. It's designed to make you laugh, make you have a good time, and they include all the tropes from the African jungle adventures and serials, probably from the 20s and all those kinds of days. So I think it's a fun movie, and I can recommend it to give it a watch because I like it a lot.
Yeah, I tend to like it a lot too. I think if I'm gonna have to give it a ranking on our 5 big feet scale, I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5. I think that's very appropriate considering the problems that it has, but on top of that, the general quality of it. And so I think I'm gonna give it on our scale of 5 big feet, I'm going to give it 3.5. I think the general quality of it, but still including some of the negatives, I think I think that's an appropriate ranking.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to give it a ranking of. I was debating between 3.5 as well. And a 4, but I think I see no reason, because the only two real big things is the outdatedness of the tribal stuff and just a few personal things that I have feel comedy. I think it will make it a 3.5 big feet as well. Still, really good movie. Recommend it.
Yeah, I think that's a really fair ranking, and we definitely enjoyed it. I believe next week our feature is going to be Bride of the Gorilla.
That is correct, yeah.
From 1951, co-starring Lon Chaney Jr. We're very excited about that.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Lon Chaney Jr.'s. And... yeah, so this is definitely going to be a fun time. I do remember that this movie is actually one of the oldest movies that's actually on the official Wikipedia Bigfoot movies page. Yeah, so this is like the oldest one. So I guess if you're going only by that list, this is only our first real episode coming up.
Yeah, the first real episode, depending on who you talk to and who you're taking notes from.
But you see, we're right, so we're gonna consider ourselves in the right.
We maintain that it starts with Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Yes, we do. But of course, I do have one extra question for you, Isaac.
Yeah, what's that?
Are you convinced yet?
No. If anything's going to convince me, it's not going to be a comedy about a fictional cryptid orangutan.
Okay, well, I mean, I just wanted to check.